Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel, and thanks for joining me, Kevin, at Smart Home Improvement People. So what we're going to talk to you about today? Well, today we're diving into the world of home improvements, and specifically to do with the cost of how much it costs to get sash windows in the UK. Okay, because obviously the problem with sash windows is they can be quite expensive on occasions. Okay, and a lot of the time it does tend to be a case that people that weren't able to really change the design of their house, maybe they live in a listed building or something like that, tend to have them. Okay, so what are sash windows at the end of the day? For those of you that don't know, sash windows are basically a classic window style, particularly popular in older properties, Victorian or even older houses and everything. And they're known for their timeless elegance and energy efficiency. Okay, so what are the main factors affecting the cost of sash windows? Well, there's a few things at the end of the day. One being the size and quantity that you actually want. So obviously the number and size of the windows you need will directly impact the overall cost. Okay, so obviously larger windows are going to be more expensive. With a lot of companies across the country, the more windows you get, more reductions are add on to it. But obviously it means the price is going to be spiraling. So that's one thing. Next thing you've got to take into consideration is the material that you want them made out of. So one of the things that I can say is obviously timber is probably going to be the most expensive option, but with a lot of older houses, if you want to keep it period with how it is, a lot of people are going to go down that route. UPVC and aluminium are the most common choices, and they're also the cheapest option. And like I said, timber is the most expensive option available. Obviously, when it comes to the glazing style, obviously there are several different options when it comes to energy efficiency, the standard of the glass, because yet again, the better energy efficiency of the actual glass, okay, is going to affect the price. There is always things you can do about that. You can get slightly less energy efficient glass and maybe put a film on it, or go down the route of secondary glazing. If you don't want physical double glazing and you want to keep it period and everything, so that is another option. Okay, when it comes to installation, the complexity of the installations, including any additional work required, such as removing the old windows or building new openings, will impact on the cost. Okay, I know school that my kids at, they have sash windows, and I think the install's been going on for about 2 weeks so far. Normally, if it's standard normal casement windows, you'd normally expect it to be done inside a day. So depending on the amount of work that does need to be done, obviously it can drag it out on occasions, but that doesn't mean that's always the case, obviously, at the end of the day. Now, when it comes to the good old question of what is the average price, that's what everybody wants to know at the end of the day. What are you looking at if you get sash windows? Well, the reality is, obviously, sash windows are more expensive. Okay, there's no hiding from that. Get away from all the BS that you're always going to get told. Okay, sash windows are going to be more expensive than usual casement windows, but most properties have nowadays. Because if you look at casement windows, you can get them, and I know I'm going to get all the haters from the installers saying it should be 7, 8 £800. You can get casement windows from about £300 with installation. It can be done, okay, if you're willing to shop around. Now, the average price for sash windows is anything from about £500. Okay, depending on where you go. Also depends where in the country you are. You know, it is the classic one, north-south divide. You know, if you're near a big city, you know, so say for instance, you know, I live here down on the south coast. You know, I live in Leon-Solent near Portsmouth, so I'm not far away from London. You know, I'm near Portsmouth, near Southampton, near big cities. Price goes straight up. If you're out in the country, you've got a better chance of getting a decent deal at the end of the day. Okay, or if you go and order them online or something like that, you can get a decent deal. But obviously, if you're going to go down, so that is obviously for UPVC or aluminium. Aluminium will be slightly more expensive, but not a great deal. Okay, when it comes to timber, okay, and I don't even want to talk about timber because, you know, you automatically start having an heart attack when you start talking about timber prices. You know, so it depends if you're having softwood or hardwood. Okay, but prices can be anywhere from about £1,000 up to £2,000 per window, dependent on the size of it and dependent on how many you're going to have. Because like I said earlier on in the video, you know, if you start getting multiple windows, they will start reducing the price. You know, they may, and I'm not putting words in any installers' mouth at the end of the day, they might put not 10% off, or they might not 20% off. If you're willing to haggle with double glazing companies, you are able to get discounts. But it's whether you're you're happy to actually haggle. And it's like a story I spoke about in a previous video I did about double glazing. You know, one of my old landlords back in Southampton, you know, he managed to get, I think it's something like, I think it's somewhere in the region of about 60 to 70% off the price. You know, because he had Anglian out, they gave him a ridiculously high price, something like 120, 130 grand. It was quite a long time ago. You're talking about 10 years ago now this happened, and he ended up getting them down to something in somewhere in the region of about £30,000. But that's for a lot of windows. He was having this store. I think it was about 20, 25 windows. Lived in a big house, had a lot of properties. So obviously he had a few quid in the bank at the end of the day, and he had a big house, like I say. So if you are willing to negotiate, you are able to get them reductions at the end of the day. So the next bit is additional costs to consider. Okay, one is VAT, because some of the time companies don't include the cost of VAT on top. So always remember to add the VAT on top, a bit like if you're a business owner. Okay. Secondly, depending on if you're using a company to install the windows as well, if they're not installing them, is labour costs. Okay, which can vary, you know, all over the place. You know, I'd hate to actually try and predict what the labour cost for actually installing it is, because it's going to vary depending on how experienced they are, you know, whether you're getting the company to actually do it, whether you're getting a secondary company to come in and install it, you know, but you might want to take that into account. And the third one is planning permission. Now, it's not always the case when it comes to double glazing or to that you have to get planning permission. You know, the majority of the time you don't have to worry about that. Problem is, a lot of people get sash windows, you know, they're in listed buildings or they're in conservation areas. Okay, it's not always the case, but it is quite often the case. So what you might want to check is with your local council, or look at your deeds to your property to see whether you do need to get planning permission or whether there are any rules or regulations on what you can do. Okay, so be extremely careful before you just go and do something, because worst thing you want is to be told you have to get them ripped out, which is going to cost you more money at the end of the day. Okay, so the last thing, you know, and this is more a case of how you can actually go about saving yourself money. Always shop around. I've always told people, even when I used to knock on the doors, you know, I've worked for the likes of Anglian and Everest and Safestyle, you know, plus lots of other companies. Always shop around. Don't just take the first quote you're offered. You know, I've known people that I've spoken to in the past where they say, oh, I only use Anglian. Okay, that's good. Obviously, they know you only use Anglian, so they're going to hike the price up. Shop around. Get the best deal possible. You know, if you don't want to be shopping around, phoning loads of companies, there are websites like mine that you can go on and they're going to get all the companies for you and introduce you to companies in your local area, whether that's local companies like Bob the Builder up the road, or, you know, your big national companies, the likes of your Anglian and your Everest and First Home Improvements. When I name drop, trust me, none of them are on my books and I don't get paid a penny for mentioning their names or anything. Okay, but those are options. Obviously, one of the other options is consider quiet times of the year to actually get the installation when companies are desperate for the work. Don't go and do it during the summer months when they got lots of work coming. When they got lots of work coming in, when they got conservatory installs. Go to the colder months slightly, when they're going to be slightly less busy, when they need the work, and they're going to start dropping the prices. So always take that into consideration. You know, monitor when companies are offering these discounts. And I know, you know, it's marketing at the end of the day. And that's what it is most of the time. It's just your usual marketing rubbish, you know, but, you know, monitor what companies are doing on a regular basis before you actually go ahead. And then the last but not least is obviously check to see if there are any grants available. You know, there have been times in the past when government have brought different types of grants out, you know, or local authorities. This is in your local council. I know local councils round here have done things, you know, to do with solar energy at the end of the day. So always take them into account as well. So I hope this video has helped you out a little bit. Okay, if you do have any questions, just drop any comments down below and we'll try and answer your questions. Obviously, apart from that, if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe, okay, because it does help us put more videos out. But for now, thanks for listening and we'll speak to you again a bit later.